Welcome, everyone. You are watching Any Living Conversations live or recorded. This is the 181st conversation, 181 conversations we've had every week. We come here together, me, Julian Katari, and Sacred Blue Heron Woman here with you. And we talk about different subjects regarding sovereignty and the path to real freedom and the path to human evolution. And in this session, we're doing the second version, the second session for a very beautiful thing called the creation story, the creation story of love, or a story of creation. I'm
Yeah.
getting dyslexic. So the second version, like the
Doesn't
creation
matter.
story, but this time it's a creation story based on love. It's a creation story based on this coming together, and if I may share a reading for the Mayan calendar, because we are in the Hunimosh day.
Right.
It has to do a lot with the Hunimosh, where it's the beginning, the creation of something,
Right.
and
Yeah.
so
The
this is
emergence of something.
the emergence of something new. So to have something new emerge, we need to have a new story told, and this is the story we've been telling. If you want to catch this whole thing, go back to the last session, and that's where we started the story. This is a continuation of that story. So welcome, everyone.
So let me say, Sacred Blue Heron medicine woman. Because I
Mhm.
carry the medicine for the last 8 years of the Blue Heron.
Mhm.
It's standing alone, walking alone, and as what's emerging, my name might change. I might become the medicine carrier of something different.
Okay.
So at this point, I'm Blue Heron medicine woman, Sacred Blue Heron medicine woman, because I embody, not carry. I
Mhm.
embody the medicine of the Blue Heron.
Okay.
That understanding just came to me the other
Yeah.
day.
And it's
So
it's everything's sprouting new. Everything's just
yeah,
coming to us as it shows. So this is not. That's another reading where there is no formula. We were talking about that. I think there's no recipe for this. We have to allow ourselves to be experimental and to allow something new to come through us.
exactly. Yes. Yeah. So where we left off was we were in the second world. Um, the Earth Mother and Sky Father brought forth the God uh, galactic ordering dynamics process. Promised that the whirling rainbow of peace promised that all creatures were loved equally by their true parents. The God process, the galactic ordering dynamic with its maleness and its femaleness, and Mother Earth and Mother Space and Father Sky, Father Time, Grandfather Sun, and Grandmother Moon. These are all holders of the invisible. Grandfather Sun
Mhm.
and Grandmother Moon are holders of Father Time. They reveal to us Father Time. Father Time is absolutely invisible. You can't see
Okay.
him. So um, these are not four beings. These are or four entities or four different spirits. They are all one and the same, just reflecting each other. So Earth Mother said, "Children of the Earth, uh, Great Spirit, the God process, the Tao uh, the love process the Munai process has decreed that from this moment we are building a uniworld rather than a universe. I will
Mhm.
always protect and honor those who serve all our relations." Let's say that again. She promised us protection
Mhm.
for those who protect and serve all our relations. So there's no fear. There's no need for fear when walking this path. So she said, find the rhythm of oneness that will begin the second world and continue to love one another. So we're ending with the first world. Now, so the jealousy and greed of the first world had destroyed the warmth of Grandfather Sun's unconditional love for all creatures. So all life was blighted by the cold. And the brown two-leggeds became dominant. I think Did we discuss that last week? Did we talk about that?
Don't quite remember.
Let's just go through it again. The brown
Mhm.
leggeds became dominant in the second world because they could use their talents to survive and flourish. These brown children carried the remembering in their frontal lobes and could access the memories, so they were developing the neocortex, the newest part of our brain,
Mhm.
and could easily access the memories of what had come before. So good medicine was again flowing through the second world of ice, through the ice age. The clan mothers and medicine women were guiding forces that served the two-leggeds, and they knew that all things were born of woman, and it was understood that Earth Mother was the source of all the physical needs of her children. The men took the role of protectors and providers for the families, developing their talents of courage and boldness. And the men honored women as extensions of the original mother of all things. Unfortunately, carelessness and desire for control of the clan's destiny had ravaged the good medicine that had been nurtured by the early clan members. So the sparkle of harmony once again became tarnished as life became less survival oriented for the brown two-legged. So the teaching of the totems were being ignored, and the spoken language now contained disdain and critical words of ugliness. Greed had surfaced again, and self importance stole the hearts of some people. The desire for community and equality had been plowed under, and the new seeds of lust for control were growing into thistles of prideful antagonism and resentment. And the winds of change blew the seeds of love to the four directions. So dominance was prevalent again in the attitudes of the two-legged. The
Mhm.
women no longer nurtured the young as they once had. The men were slovenly and demanding of the women who feared the birth of their new children. The memory of all that had gone on before was still adding girth to the frontal lobes of the brown humans' brains, which made the delivery of offspring nearly impossible. So their heads were getting bigger. Um, the pelvic spread of the women did not grow to match the remembering being stored in the heads of the coming generation. So many of the children born to the earth tribe came into the world after long hours of labor and at great pain to their mothers. Some would never utter their first cry, others would be born to live only a few breaths of life and then travel the road of spirit. And we talked about this last week. I remember saying that we're seeing this now. They're not brown skinned.
Mhm.
We've been seeing this for a while. You we could say it's like hydrocephalus would
Mhm.
be right, but there is so while again this is a linear story, it's still circular because it's still spiraling because we're seeing all parts of all the worlds that we're talking about here in our present day. So among the brown people, the ritual of birth and death create had created a tradition that continued from generation to generation. The birth blood, this tradition was that the birth blood of an infant marked the child as a child of the people. And because they had discovered through hunting and eating animals that all creature beings had red blood.
Hmm.
Everyone had red blood. So we are all a part of the planetary family. And so those of the Earth Mother's family were to be smeared with red clay and placed again in her womb when the body died. So
Mhm.
these people of brown color then were actually called the red earth people because they started using red ochre paint made from clay and the fat of musk ox to show that they were faithful to their earth mother. So since that time, let's get rid of the connotation that red denotes anger and say that red denotes faith among those who count themselves among the people who are following the way of the earth mother, the third
Mhm.
way. Right, these two-leggeds then gladly gave the robe that cloaked their spirit back to Mother Earth to fertilize her soil so that through their empty bodies, others could find nourishment. This is salmon economics. They didn't embalm themselves. They just, right, so that they would toxify Mother Earth.
Hmm.
Anyone who came around them, they just laid down and died. They let their bodies go to feed everything else. So um, the green medicines of the plant people grew abundantly, where a two-legged who just laid down and died and shared their body this way is buried.
Okay.
So the imprint of pride and self-importance had once again taught the would-be leaders to ignore their feelings and the place where the spirit, soul, God process was living among inside them, and the harmony of heartfelt sharing and equally all nearing every clan member's medicine was dying. So one evening, the Sky Nation took on a mantle of pea green, and I know that
Hmm.
mantle well. That indicates a tornado is coming. And colors spurted. I don't see colors when a tornado's coming. Sorry. Color spurted forth from the Earth Mother to the Star Nation. This whirling rainbow, the promise of peace for the faithful, is a sign to retreat once again into the inner Earth, because the second world of ice was going to be destroyed again because greed took over. And so ended the second world of ice. So the second world ended as it had begun with an ice age. And now the one great landmass, which was called Turtle Island, was vast enough to almost encircle Mother Planet. The mountains and valleys were again growing with beautiful foliage, and the warming was supplying plenty of water to assist the young seedlings. The little people, the fairies, the fae, once again hollowed their homes in the forests and glens, and the creature beings traveled to the four directions, covering Turtle Island. Life was taking hold anew, and the planetary family was flourishing. Near the heart of Turtle Island was the only tree person who had braved and weathered all the changes of the previous worlds. This magnificent standing person was called the Tree of Life. Her branches were filled with every seed, fruit, nut, flower, vegetable, and leaf that was present on Mother Earth, and her roots went deep into the breast of Mother Planet to receive nurturance. The Tree of Life was the chief of all standing people and continued to provide seeds for repopulating the soil after every world's purification. And the Tree of Life represented Earth Mother's promise to all her plant kingdom children that their gifts would be used by the creature beings and two-leggeds as a life support system. The tree people would provide food, oxygen, lodging, bark, paper, healing, cures, shade, firewood, glue, dyes, and much more for the evolving planetary family. So the tree tribe gave of themselves totally in order to assist the other clans of Earth. In return, they were supported by the Earth Mother's Munaiki, love, which they drew from their roots, and Grandfather Sun's loving light, and the Cloud People's rain, which came from the Sky Nation. So these were very happy days, as every clan of the planetary family found a way to be of service to every other band and clan. Now the little people brought news from the Crystal Clan. The white two-leggeds had discovered the medicine of the Crystal Clan. And the white two-leggeds had the gifts of creativity, magnetism, and authority, and now they were discovering these gifts and bringing strong medicine and new ideas into this peaceful world. The white two-leggeds had used their authority and magnetism to harness the energy that followed the trails of fire sticks on Earth Mother's surface. Like every place where a lightning beam had struck the mother's body, that energy powered the enormous camps of the white two-leggeds. So they developed curious things, which they called machines, to do their work for them. These white children of the earth did not share their medicine with the other colors of children and began to feel superior, as they did not drop their robes or die as young as the two-leggeds of the other colors. So then it was that they decided to enslave the other four colors of humankind. And they believed that their new medicine was strong because it was white and clean. And so anything that was not white or pristine was bad. And of course, they soon began to fear losing the authority and power they had in controlling the different colored two-leggeds. So the fear of dirt, dust, soil, and sand began to erode their sense of belonging to the Earth Mother, and this is when they earned the name Afraid of Dirt.
Hmm.
Their totally white encampments were made of marble stone people and crystal mineral people. The trees and flowers were being replaced with plants that would never lose their leaves or blossoms, that would dirty the paths to their lodges or communal fires. And the only members of other colors allowed in the Afraid of Dirt's encampments were servants, dancers, or musicians to entertain them at their feast. And we haven't talked about the caste system. This is the caste system. This is the
Hmm.
black people that were allowed into the white through the entertainment, into the white world through entertainment. This is where this is a linear story, and it's not. All these worlds are present in and among us today. So, in following the crooked trail, the Afraid of Dirts began to further demean the other four colors by misusing their gifts of authority and magnetism in order to intimidate and control. At this time, all two-legged Earth tribes had chosen to live in areas of Turtle Island that were best suited to their individual characteristics and aid their survival. So the red people built their fires and constructed their lodges in the original center of Turtle Island. The white people resided in their lodges to the northeast of Turtle Island Center in an area that had less sun and heat, so they could preserve their fair skins. And this is where mitochondria and diet come into play. We're not going to talk about this right now because
Hmm.
I don't have enough information. I don't have enough knowledge about this. But
Yeah.
um, the brown people camped to the south and southeast and to the west, and the yellow people lived near the furthest western shore. The black people in the further southwestern area where the climate was hottest and grandfather sun's light was the strongest. So Turtle Island is Mother Earth, right? She was once one giant continent. It was immense. Turtle Island was immense and nearly encircled the Earth Mother's waist. And the Earth and the Afraid of Dirt intended to control it all. So great was their fear of anything that was not white and therefore not clean that they began to cover Mother Earth's surface with a white substance called hard like rock snow. Do we have any substance around like that right now?
Maybe.
Concrete?
Hmm.
That's why I'm saying while this is an allegorical tale of a timeline, that's like what we think is a linear timeline, it's not. All this is present right here and right now today. Around this time, the Afraid of Dirt's people found a way to melt the crystal people and mix their fluid bodies with other ones found in Earth Mother. The earth medicine that would bind the melted crystal people to metal and ore was found in the southwestern area of Turtle Island. So now we have the steel industry, right? Something like that. And now the volcanic caves created by Mother Earth's eruptions were being forcibly mined by the brown, red, and yellow people who had been enslaved by the white, Afraid of Dirt people. There was no balance in the frenzy with which the white, Afraid of Dirts, were now using the resources of Turtle Island without replacing that which they had taken. That's what I'm saying. Are we not seeing this right now?
Hmm.
And think about, I mean, my friend Jaime is going to be transferred to a $300 million project in Tulsa where they're building the air bridges for concrete. Totally, he's in the business. He's in the concrete finishing business, covering Earth Mother.
That's so terrible. There's no place. I mean, there's this little park I go with kids. Oh, they just built. It was all the section with grass, and now there's this big slabs of concrete. I don't know what the obsession is with that thing, and I'm so
Afraid of
sick of it.
dirt. They're still afraid of dirt,
Okay, you
right?
you you got it.
Right. So the Tree of Life stood in the central region of Turtle Island near what is now called the Great Lakes, even though they weren't there yet at the time. And once again, the faithful were called by the Earth Mother to gather at the great tree, and they found that the soil around the tree was covered with the white substance, which looked like the web of a giant spider. The great grandmother spider who wove the webs of life could not have destroyed her creation, so it was evident that the Afraid of Dirt had been there. The faithful tried to break the hard like rock snow, but the Afraid of Dirt arrived in one of their sun canoes, airplanes, or helicopters, and began to cut the tree of life to shreds. So a howl of enormous pain began to swirl across Turtle Island. Earth Mother told the faithful to gather the seeds, fruits, bits of bark, and roots, saying that the afraid of dirt could destroy the tree of life, but they could not destroy life itself. So let's remember that. While the afraid of dirts are still desperately trying to cut down all the trees of life, they cannot destroy life itself.
Mm. The whole of life is, yeah.
Right. So the promise of every future sun and moon cycle lives in the seeds. She also said that she would preserve the lives of those who will carry on the tradition of the language of love, and the connection to her would be carried in their natural centers, in their haras, their womb centers, and in every act of life they perform. The tree of life that had provided sustenance for all the children of the earth was gone, and now that connection must be sought out by those in the worlds to come, because as a result of this destruction, it is no longer a right, it's a privilege.
Okay.
Earth Mother said that the two-leggeds who are her children have always been given free will, and it was their choice to destroy the roots that kept them connected to the abundance that was their natural legacy. She said that the waters of the tides of change would purify the damage done this day, but the legacy of want and destruction would be felt in the coming worlds and be inherited by all future generations. The act of murdering the standing person who had been given the seeds of life started the floods that will always come, when the roots of the plant relations can no longer be the bridges between the earth and sky nations. So all the permaculturists, Sepulzer and Austria being the loudest one of them, is saying that we cause our own floods and destruction.
Yeah.
And this is it.
Wow, that's a revelation right there.
Yep.
That's the revelation.
Uh-huh.
Wow, this creation story is like it's also an apocalypse story.
It is. It is. That's why it's so important. Earth Mother said, as the faithful gathered again below her surface, that there would be sources of water in the area where the tree of life stood, and the Great Lakes would serve as a reminder of the deeds, and that flooding would continue across Turtle Island every time the sacred bond of life and equality is broken by the two-legged. Let's say that again. The flooding would continue across Turtle Island, the whole of planet Earth, every time, all the continents, every time the sacred bond of life and equality is broken by us two-legged.
Mhm.
The destruction of the planetary family's original connection to the Earth Mother had set the stage for the fourth world, which would be called the world of separation. The unity of Turtle Island was no more. At the end of the third world of water, Turtle Island was split and new continents were formed. The waters of purification separated each regional landmass and split the areas where the 5 colors of the human tribes had once lived as one. This legacy of separation would change the way in which the planetary family perceived the past and the future lessons would be difficult, but life would continue on Earth Mother. The compassion of the Great Mother came into being as she bequeathed to the children of Earth another chance to grow through the ways of separation. And so ended the third world of water. The fourth world gurgled and spurted its way into existence. The remaining children of Earth emerged to take their rightful places among their relatives above the soil, to begin again and to become the new foundation of the faithful. Promise was the watchword among those who chose to repopulate the above world, because Earth Mother promised the tribes of Earth that they would never again live under the domination of one race. So we might ask, why then are we living under the domination of white men? She promised us that we wouldn't.
Mhm.
Well, because white is no longer a skin color. White is an ideology.
Right.
It's corporatism.
Okay.
It's taken over the world. It's not. It has nothing to do with skin color.
Yeah.
Every brown, red, yellow, two-legged who thinks they've achieved the top of their pyramid by having a 64-inch smartphone TV in their house is white. Doesn't matter what their skin color is. They're white.
Mm.
They've achieved the corporatism,
Mm-hmm.
consumerism. Right? It's not a skin color. It's a way of life. It's an ideology. The promise of the first world, as it was in the beginning of every new world, was the harmony of equality with the challenge now of separation. So the remnants of Turtle Island floated on the blue seas of seeming contentment as the new generations refused to look deeply into the watery past that left them with the legacy of separateness. Each emergent continent was filled with different tradition, cultures, and ways of speech. As the two-legged children of the planetary family began to explore their individual beliefs, the understanding of the concept of great grandmother spider or spirit, great mystery, the God process, love, Munaiki, dwindled. All concepts that contained an expansive overview were disappearing, and the pieces of the whole idea were taking the place of the whole. And we still see that. Oh, absolutely see that, right? Gotta
Mm-hmm.
have my niche, right? Gotta have my piece. Keep to your lineage, right? If you study with Dr. Alberto Villoldo, you got to keep to his lineage.
You
If
know
you're
that,
a
and
Seventh Day Adventist, you got to be a Seventh Day Adventist. You can't be a Catholic. You can't go to right.
and I just studied that word lineage, and it has this very kind of racist connotation,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
So the symbols endowed by great spirit, God process, Munaiki, power of love that contained the concept of wholeness were lost, with the new ideas containing only bits and pieces of the truth that were adopted by all five colors of the human race. Religions began to form based on limiting beliefs, and each religion was controlled by wannabe chiefs who basked in the seeming knowledge of these new belief systems. Throughout the passing, do we have a new white wannabe chief that was just anointed? Two of them.
Oh yeah.
Oh, two of them.
Who was the other one?
The Pope, the new Pope.
The other one. Oh,
Oh,
that's been
let's say three of them. Musk. Let's
he's
add
been there
Musk.
for a while.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Well, yes. Okay.
yeah.
The Mushuk Supai, I call them in Quechua. They were like sharing this Quechua. Uh, this is like this Quechua language page, and they're like, how to say new pope, right? And I like commented, new Mushuk Soup, new devil.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, Throughout the passing centuries, the knowing of one spiritual Munaiki divinity was replaced with sets of laws based on fear of angry gods. So various civilizations peaked out, then collapsed when their lack of equality finally created division from within. As great grandmother spider or great spirit, the great mystery of love, the God process, the galactic ordering dynamic was forgotten by most of the two-leggeds. Many gods were created to take its place. Many of the emerging philosophies and religions were kept busy degrading the natural actions and functions of being human. The sacredness of sexual union was defiled with polarizing ideas that created rules concerning how each human, depending upon gender, was allowed to express sensuality or desire. Dogma and morals replaced the inner knowing that had been present among humankind in the former worlds. The fire medicine of passion and spontaneity was being separated by the ice that flowed through the veins of all humans who feared their feelings or their natural states of physicality. And interestingly enough, after one of my breakups with Jack, I left him a voice message exactly about this. Just let that ice. I forget what I said, but it was just like, you're so encloaked in ice, so encloaked in ice.
Hmm.
Right? The ice that flowed through the veins. Absolutely, ice flows through his veins. Absolutely, it does. because he's so fucking religious. Ice flowed through my father's veins too, and
Mm.
yeah, my mom's too. It's interesting because they fear their feelings or their natural states of physicality. So in the end, all would have been rulers, all would be rulers were eventually ruled by their own greed and lust for power and control, and that is um, every pastor of every church is ruled by two brother-in-laws being one of uh,
Mm-hmm.
I can say that honestly. They're greed by and lust for power and control. Yeah, because they preach a religion that if you don't toe the line, you're doomed.
Mm-hmm.
So the time has come again when the Earth Mother will rid herself of those who forget to give praise and thanksgiving for the gifts they receive. The first world was purged by fire, the second by ice, the third by water. The fourth will be a polar shift if necessary, and a polar shift would destroy all of us. That means Mother Earth would flip, right? Peru would become North America.
Right.
That would destroy us all. This
Mm-hmm.
shift does not have to occur if enough members of the faithful will come into alignment and harmony. The natural center, the hara, the womb space of every life form has great grandmother spider Munaki within it and is the center of the universe. And these vibral cores send out rhythms of harmony or discord. And it's so interesting that we're so focused on the heart field and no one is exploring the womb field, the lower dantian. No one. Is that
Mm-hmm.
going to take another 100 years for science to start exploring that? If enough two-leggeds can remember their divinity, their ability to move past the ideas of limitation, doom, gloom, and misery planning that have been created, the polar shift will be avoided. So according to the Mayan calendar, to some of the Mayans, December 21, 2012 was the start of a new world, a new era. Some say the dawning of the fifth world would occur around 2013, and others say we are shifting now. The truth is, there is no line of demarcation. We expect all of this to be like a door we pass through that's instantaneous, that's microwave. It's process. And during this process time, Earth Mother will begin to wobble and send cataclysms to any area where the two-leggeds have chosen war, inequality, wrong action, or disharmony. Each relation is being given the opportunity to seek out any conflict within the self and heal it in order to stabilize the wobble that keeps us from personal balance and world harmony. And so we are living in the process of shifting from the fourth world of separation into the fifth world of enlightenment right now.
Mm-hmm.
We have been since 2012.
Okay.
If that's, there's again the arguing of, is this true?
Well, we made it true. We all, even the Mayan priests are like, yeah, we got it. We need a new era. Let's make that true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we did. And if it wasn't 2012, without a doubt, it was 2020.
It's somewhere around that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, um, yeah. And we are definitely with this year, within the last 2 months, we're definitely in a new 104-year era of Venus. So we are in the transition process. I mean, our weather here in Oklahoma tells us we are. Um, we're in the transition process to a new way of being. So um, the question, I guess, to everyone is, which way are you choosing? Are you choosing the way of the afraid of dirt, or are you willing to come into harmony, all of life? Be afraid of dirt to concrete over everything. Are you an afraid of dirt?
Mm-hmm. Are you afraid of dirt?
Despite your skin color, are you an afraid of dirt?
Mm.
Person, human, two-legged. Are you an afraid of dirt human who covers everything over with concrete?
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's a profound revelation and thing to think about and to meditate on, because
Yeah, I mean,
it touches deep things that we're sometimes afraid to look at,
yeah,
and so it's so much easier to look for that out, to look for that change, to look for that wellness, to look for that transformation, for that blessing, for that wealth outside. And we don't understand that until we look inside and allow ourselves to transform that in us.
yeah.
It won't come from the outside,
It
because
will
it's the
not
same
come.
thing. It's the same thing. It's There's only that. There's only the inside and the outside are one and together,
Yeah,
and we are the creators of our reality. So
yeah.
unless we're not willing to see that, then we're not
Oh, but
gonna.
it's not so much. In some cases, it's not a willingness to see it. In other cases, it's like, how did this book on subsistence perspective that I'm reading? How did she put it? Women who are comfortable in their jail cells,
Right.
right? And we're comfortable. That's why I keep saying over and over the standard method of yoga and everything like that is just to kind of, bend the bars out of your jail cell so that you can be a little more comfortable, have a little more room, but it
Hmm.
doesn't actually let you out of your jail cell.
Mm.
It
Yeah.
doesn't actually liberate you.
Right. And what will is looking at this and going all the way and letting yourself
Yeah.
be part of something. And one of the other things that will you need to look at is how we've been fragmented and put into this individualized mindset. And so until we're not willing to join together, to come together with other people that are on this quest, then we're not going to get anywhere. Not
Yeah.
alone.
No, but and it's not so much individualist because we all need to be individuals in the greater whole because we all have a unique divinity. This is but the Mayan calendar with the 20 day signs and the 13 overtones tells us that. How many times does it repeat? Everyone has a different, like, I am a I my whole life I've been a 12 Ajmak,
Hmm.
Achmak kid. Is that how you pronounce it?
Achmak. Yeah.
Ahmak, right? Um, that doesn't mean I have anything, and I mean I have some things in common with any other Ahmak, but their number makes them any person born under the sign of under the tone. Which
Right.
which would it be? Pitch and tone. Let's talk about this in concept of pitch and tone.
Hmm.
Would would maybe yeah. Let's say the tone would be the 20 day signs. The tone,
Hmm.
the pitch would be the number. So anyone born in the tone of Ahmak is not the same as me. That we have some things identical, but it depends on your pitch,
Right.
right? So everyone is their own unique, like every snowflake is. So it's not so much we need to individuate. We need to find our individual, but we don't need to isolate.
Hmm.
And that's what they've driven us to. It's not so much it's the isolation.
Mm.
I I am my own little island. Yeah, we are all centers of the universe, but we're all always bumping into each other.
Hmm.
There would be no contrast if we didn't have each other. We
Right.
wouldn't be alive if we didn't have each other because we have to have contrast.
Hmm.
We have to have the polarization, the
Mm.
duality. But there's all
Hmm.
it's not ever, which is what we're stuck in, either or. It's both and the third way.
Hmm. Okay. So that was to also to invite people, if to look at the fact that, I mean, you said it, and it's very good that you clear that out, because we have, that's the other side of the fear, that by joining others we're going to lose our individuality, and we're not.
Not at all. We're not. In
Quite the
fact,
contrary. We are very, as we're all apart, we are all very similar.
right.
And
We all
until
need to
we,
discover our, you got to know yourself, your individual.
and you can do that by coming together with more than one, because we're used to coming together with one person, right? Like couples. That's a challenge. So even a greater challenge is come together in a group that is more than two.
Yeah.
A group that is able to see each other in the face and to discover what's inside of us, and work these things, this wellness lab of working things out and making and seeing for each other and caring for each other.
Well, and that's, that's what I had the opportunity to emphasize again with my wonderful partner Jaime this last weekend is like, because the air conditioning in my truck it needs some work. And I told him, I have great compassion for the fact that you come home, you're afraid of dirt, and I haven't told him that part yet. You work with you, right? You're covering
Mhm.
over Earth Mother with concrete every freaking day of your life. You work hard. I have great compassion for that, but I can't be there to support you if I have to go pay a mechanic 80 freaking bucks an hour. And the one I go to is the cheapest around at 80 bucks an hour. And he said, well, it's your problem if you, and I said, it's not my problem, because you got to understand this is what AI does. It standardizes everything. It's
Mhm.
not an individual case by case basis. It's not how long did I actually take to do her brakes. No, it's the AI algorithm said that air conditioner, this one will take 2 hours. So he will charge me for 2 hours and fuck off an hour and a half on my money.
Yeah, okay.
That's
Yeah,
how it works. And
yeah.
that's how it works in the medical world. And that's how it works everywhere. We have to understand this. This
Hmm.
algorithm standardization process is bullshit,
Right.
right? It's not
Wow.
individualization. It doesn't take individual case by case basis.
Hmm. And then all the things that happen from taking that as an example, and we're taking that into our daily lives, and then we want to standardize things. And we were talking about that not too long ago, where we are following the rules. We want to follow the rules, but the rules are never the reality.
The rules are bullshit.
Yeah.
The rules are meant to keep us in somebody's line.
And it's a line that's outside of reality. It's never really
Yeah, it's not. It's not
applicable
true.
in any in
No,
any s- good way. Hmm.
no. Yeah.
Right. So what's this going to take us to for next week?
Next week we're going to go into the yin and yang, the maleness and the femaleness, because
Okay.
remember we know now that science, NASA has proven that there are two pulsing forces in the galactic center.
Okay.
It's the yin and yang, the Shiva and the Shakti, the maleness and the femaleness.
Wow. So that's very interesting. And will that include something about that galactic center?
Well, we can tell about it again. Um,
Okay. I was
uh,
wondering
yeah,
if you
no,
have to
yeah,
do.
because that needs to be repeated over and over to get that stuck in
Mhm.
here. But there's
Okay.
actually two orbs, as so to speak, in the galactic center.
Hmm.
Not just
Okay.
one, not just God, not just a male being. It's the maleness and the femaleness.
Hmm. Okay. Well, that sounds exciting. So we leave it at 8:45.
8:45.
I hope I need to. I just learned how you don't never pay enough attention to something. You need to pay more attention. Like something like the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause, yeah, we missed yesterday's time, and then today's was a little bit early. We did it at
Oh,
the
good.
wrong time, and whatever. And then we get time changed, and then time's a mess. So we'll be on time next
Time is
week.
a synchronicity that produces art. So we're producing art, so it doesn't matter.
Right. That's a good thing, that, and I think folks will understand that. So
Yeah.
that's the invitation next week for that. The yin yang. What would the title be? The yin yang and the masculine.
Let's see the beauty of yin yang or maleness and femaleness, something
The
like that.
beauty
The
of
art,
the art.
because Father Time creates the Father Time synchronicity factor is art, right? So the art
Mhm.
of
Of
yin yang
maleness and
or
femaleness.
maleness and femaleness,
Okay.
which has
Already.
nothing to do with penises and vaginas.
Okay. Yeah. Well, a little bit, maybe.
No, those are just
Well, not
external
what we're
organs,
going to talk about, but
not what we're going to talk about
yeah.
now.
Okay. Cool. Alrighty. So there you
those
go.
those organs are for sex, and sex doesn't have to do with the femaleness and maleness.
Okay.
We're going to get into that not this next week, but
Further on.
that's part of the 18-month Owl Council House training program. Is we're going to explore all this in
Okay.
detail, in depth, so that it's not so scientific that the
In
average
practice.
human cannot understand it.
Hmm. Okay. So that's also something to know, that you can go into teaching, or into teaching. Well, you will be teaching eventually, into learning everything that we're sharing here in the Owl Council House training program. Aloha, I needoutliving.com. So, and you'll find that link anywhere. And with that, shall we say goodbye?
Yes.
Okay, goodbye, everyone. See you next week. Waterfalls of blessings.